I'm going to start with The Graduate. It blew my mind when I saw that movie. I think it came out in 66. I would have been 12. I probably didn't see it till I was 13.
She was his love interest in high school. However, their romance was far from straightforward. Before she finally said yes, she did so 3 times. The renowned director is now disclosing the truth at the age of 71. She turned into his movie's covert lucky charm. The startling names they gave their children and the reasons he picked her over the biggest names in Hollywood. We're revealing the little-known romance that saved Ron Howard's life today. On March 1, 1954, Ron Howard was born in Duncan, Oklahoma. Ronald William Howard was his full name. His parents were Rance and Jean Howard, both of whom had made acting their career. The last name of his father, Harold Beckenholt, was changed to Howard in 1948. He was a writer, director, and actor. His mother trained as an actress in New York City. They created a family together in which performance and storytelling were commonplace. Ron's father was a member of the U.S. Air Force when an infant was born. Rance never lost sight of his love for acting despite his military responsibilities. He was adamant about making theater his career after studying it at the University of Oklahoma. Jean, his mother, brought the same creative energy into their home from her time studying acting in New York. Ron was surrounded by creativity from an early age while growing up in this setting. There weren't many than 20,000 people living in Duncan. There, away from the entertainment industry, life was straightforward. However, Ron displayed something unique even as a toddler. His parents picked it up early. They aimed to provide him with the best opportunity to hone his skills. They left Oklahoma to start over in Hollywood as a result of that choice. The Howards maintained a modest lifestyle even after relocating to Los Angeles. They didn't surround themselves with luxury or purchase a mansion. They chose Burbank because it allowed them to concentrate on their work without interruptions. They never wavered from their principles, regardless of their level of success. Even as his career took off, Ron remained grounded because of that mindset. At the age of 18 months, Ron made his stage debut. He had already starred in his first movie by the age of 2. Frontier Woman, 1956. Under his father's supervision, he was acting normally at the age of 4. There was no haste to make him famous. He needed to be ready to comprehend what he was doing, according to his parents. The difference was entirely due to that preparation. When he was chosen to play Opie Taylor on the Andy Griffith Show in 1960, he got his big break at the age of 6. He became well known as a result of the 8-season series. His portrayal of Opie made him one of the most adored child actors on television at the time, and he was given credit as Ronnie Howard. He had a difficult first scene on set. He had to act truly sad and act as though his toy turtle had died. That was a significant task for a child actor, but Howard managed it with amazing concentration. He had a unique quality that director Bob Sweeney recognized, and he taught him how to focus and make each scene seem authentic. For years to come, Howard's acting style was influenced by that advice. In the meantime, Griffith developed into Howard's father figure and mentor, helping him with his acting in life. He made sure he felt supported on set and gave him advice on professionalism and storytelling. Their friendship persisted even after the show's 1968 finale. They continued to communicate for decades. Howard even made an appearance as a guest star on the new Andy Griffith program in 1971. Howard always gave Griffith credit for influencing his early career, and Griffith frequently complimented Howard on his talent. Howard was already demonstrating his versatility while he was still on the Andy Griffith Show. He played Winthrop Peru in The Music Man, 1962, a lisp-prone shy boy who gives one of the movie's most memorable musical performances. The film rose to the 3rd position in the year's box office and received nominations for 6 Academy Awards. He portrayed Eddie Corbett, a young man attempting to find a new wife for his widowed father, in The Courtship of Eddie's Father in 1963. His performance received accolades for its comic timing and depth of emotion. Howard's innate ability to portray genuine emotions particularly impressed director Vincente Minnelli. Acting wasn't the only thing Howard was interested in. He was captivated by filmmaking even as a young boy. He became familiar with the technical aspects of television during his tenure on CBS's Playhouse 90. Howard closely observed the work of some of Hollywood's top writers and directors who worked on the show. He gained insight into how filmmakers like Alex Siegel brought stories to life by observing how they oversaw intricate productions. When Ron Howard portrayed Steve Ballender in American Graffiti in 1973, his career took a significant turn for the better. His most well-known role at the time was that of Opie Taylor from The Andy Griffith Show. He became well-known because of that role, but it also kept him in the mold of a child star. Everything was altered by American Graffiti. The Final Night of Summer in 1962 was the setting for the George Lucas-directed movie. It followed a group of teenagers as they listened to the greatest rock and roll songs of their era, cruised the streets, and made important life decisions. A lot of it was inspired by Lucas's own adolescent years in Modesto, California. Steve, played by Howard, was a recent high school graduate who was unsure whether to go to college or stay with his girlfriend. The movie, which featured more than 40 timeless songs by artists like Chuck Berry and Buddy Holly, resonated with viewers. Despite having a modest budget of less than $1 million, it was a huge success. Obtaining 5 Academy Award nominations and more than $140 million. The success of the movie extended beyond the box office. "Where were you in '62?" its tagline, resonated with baby boomers who recalled their adolescence. A wave of nostalgia for the 1950s and early 1960s was also sparked by it. For Howard, however, the effect was intimate. Hollywood still viewed him as a child despite the years he had spent as Opie. He had the opportunity to demonstrate that he could handle more responsible roles thanks to American Graffiti. He needed the breakthrough, and it prepared him for the most important role of his career. Directors at ABC noticed Howard's performance. He was cast as Richie Cunningham in Happy Days in 1974 because they recognized his potential as a leading man. The sitcom, which Gary Marshall created, was a humorous look at 1950s American life. It struggled in its first 2 seasons and got off to a slow start, but when it shifted to a multi-camera format with a live studio audience, everything changed. Happy Days gained the momentum it required from that change, and by its 3rd season, it was the most popular television program. Richie, the ultimate boy next door, was portrayed by Howard. Wholesome, accountable, and relatable. His character, who dealt with friendships, family issues, and adolescence, was the center of the program. Howard continued to appear on Happy Days for 11 seasons, until 1980. However, things weren't always easy behind the scenes. Howard was the obvious star of Happy Days at first. That changed when Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli, played by Henry Winkler, gained popularity. Fonzie swiftly rose to prominence as the most adored character on the show thanks to his leather jacket, tough guy demeanor, and signature IE. By the 3rd season, Winkler's name appeared in the opening credits next to Howard's. Even renaming the program Fonzie's Happy Days was a possibility for the network. Howard felt irritated. He felt like he was being pushed aside after signing on with the expectation that he would be in the lead. He stated unequivocally that he would quit the show if the title changed. ABC changed their minds and stuck with the original name. However, Fonzie continued to be the most discussed character. It was difficult, despite the close friendship between Winkler and Howard. Howard acknowledged that he felt Happy Days was no longer his show, even though he had never been envious of Winkler. Behind the scenes, things got even more challenging. Howard observed that Winkler was treated differently by studio executives as his fame increased. They no longer prioritized him. He was being treated like a second-class citizen on his own show, according to the media. However, he turned it into motivation rather than allowing it to affect him. In an effort to demonstrate that he was capable of more than just acting, he concentrated even more on his directing goals. Howard wasn't a struggling actor when he left Happy Days in 1980. He went with a specific objective and the know-how to achieve it. Ron Howard's love for directing began at a young age. He began making short films with a Super 8 camera while still a high school student in Burbank, California. This was more than a pastime. He was determined to master the art. He even participated in and won 2nd place in a high school film competition sponsored by Kodak. His early success demonstrated his genuine storytelling talent. His future was significantly shaped by his father, Rance Howard. As an actor, Rance was familiar with the movie business and inspired Ron to consider directing as more than a hobby. Ron was performing on The Andy Griffith Show at the time. However, he paid equal attention to what transpired behind the camera. He kept a close eye on the directors, observing their camera work and rehearsals. "You're going to be a filmmaker one day," one of them said, observing his interest. That forecast stayed with him. Ron knew what he wanted by 1972, when he graduated from high school. He had a solid foundation from his Super 8 movies. He had gained knowledge of visual storytelling, editing, and framing. He was determined to show that he could be a director, even though most people still thought of him as an actor. He went on to enroll in the School of Cinematic Arts at the University of Southern California after graduating from high school. One of the top film schools in the world was USC. It possessed state-of-the-art machinery and solid industry ties. A significant turning point in Ron's career was his participation in the school's inaugural freshman film course. However, he was cast as Richie Cunningham on Happy Days shortly after he began his studies at USC. The program was a huge success. He had to make a decision because he could no longer balance acting in class. Despite leaving USC before completing his degree, he continued to learn. Every acting role turned into a chance to learn how to make movies. He asked questions, observed how a set was operated, and watched directors at work. He was receiving a practical education that was not possible in a classroom. He gave a guest lecture at USC years later, sharing his experiences with aspiring filmmakers. Even though he did not complete film school, his career was influenced by the lessons he learned. In 1977, he had his first significant breakthrough as a director, but it took a unique form. Ron could direct his own movie if he agreed to star in Eat My Dust. Although Ron wasn't thrilled with the script, he recognized the greater potential. Corman allowed him to direct Grand Theft Auto in exchange for him accepting the role. In just 2 weeks, Ron and his father co-wrote the script. The movie was shot in just 23 days with a meager $602,000 budget. It featured a young couple on the run and was a fast-paced action comedy, full of strange characters and crazy car chases. Audiences adored it, but critics had mixed opinions. Considering its modest budget, the film's $15 million box office receipts were a huge success. Grand Theft Auto's direction marked a sea change. Ron had to deal with strict deadlines, little funding, and the demands of making a fun movie. Additionally, it was the only feature film he ever directed himself. More significantly, Grand Theft Auto's success demonstrated that he was capable of more than just acting. He began to gain recognition as a filmmaker in Hollywood. Night Shift, a comedy that demonstrated that Ron Howard was more than just an actor, launched his career as a director in 1982. His role as Richie Cunningham on Happy Days was his most well-known role prior to this, but he secretly desired more. Although he had directed a few minor projects before, Night Shift was his first significant challenge. Henry Winkler, Shelley Long, and an unheard-of Michael Keaton in his first significant role were all featured in the movie. It narrated the tale of a timid morgue worker on the night shift whose life is completely upended when he is persuaded to launch an odd business, a prostitution ring, out of the morgue by his boisterous, erratic co-worker. Howard managed to make the strange premise work by striking a balance between heartfelt moments and outrageous comedy. The movie was an unexpected success. On a modest budget, it made over $21 million at the box office. Howard's direction and Michael Keaton's exuberant performance were particularly commended by critics. He stole the show in every scene and took home the Best Supporting Actor award from the Kansas City Film Critics Circle. With a 93% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the movie is still regarded by many as one of the best comedies of the early 1980s. Not all of the critics were convinced. Although the impact was evident, Janet Maslin of the New York Times felt that the movie lost some of its intensity in the second half. Additionally, the movie improved Howard's collaboration with Henry Winkler. On good days, they had been together for years, but this was different. Winkler demonstrated that he was capable of more than just comedy with one of his most memorable performances. Howard demonstrated his ability to confidently handle a feature film at the same time. Some even made comparisons between Night Shift and other popular comedies of the time, such as Risky Business. Above all, the movie demonstrated Howard's development as a filmmaker. Howard moved quickly after Night Shift. He directed the romantic fantasy comedy Splash in 1984, which went on to become an even greater success. Tom Hanks played a man who falls in love with Daryl Hannah's character, a mermaid, in the movie. Although it was a novel concept, the combination of heart and humor was what made it work. Hanks and Hannah's chemistry made the love story plausible, and John Candy and Eugene Levy contributed additional humor. For both Howard and Hanks, the movie marked a sea change. In addition to making Hanks famous, it was the first movie to be released under Disney's new Touchstone Pictures label, which specialized in mature tales. Splash, which had a $11 million budget, made almost $70 million in the United States, ranking as the 10th highest-grossing movie of the year. Howard's ability to blend humor and emotion was hailed by critics. Roger Ebert had one peculiar grievance, but most people enjoyed the movie. He believed that John Candy, not Hanks, ought to have taken the lead. Nevertheless, the movie was a hit and was nominated for Best Original Screenplay at the Academy Awards. It demonstrated that Howard was more than a one-hit wonder. He was a filmmaker who could offer Hollywood something new. Howard took on something entirely different with Cocoon just a year later. In this science fiction drama from 1985, elderly residents of a retirement home find an alien presence that makes them younger again. It won an Academy Award for its innovative visual effects, heart, and humor. The cast of the movie, which was filmed in St. Petersburg, Florida, included seasoned performers like Oscar-winning Best Supporting Actor Don Ameche. One of the year's biggest hits, Cocoon brought in over $85 million. Apollo 13 demonstrated Howard's skill at transforming actual events into compelling drama in 1995. An oxygen tank exploded during NASA's 1970 lunar mission, putting astronauts Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Haise in a life-or-death situation. Their mission shifted from landing on the moon to a last-ditch effort to get home. While Ed Harris and Gary Sinise portrayed mission control leaders attempting to safely guide the stranded astronauts back, Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and Bill Paxton played the astronauts themselves. Howard collaborated closely with NASA to make the movie as realistic as possible. On the Vomit Comet, a plane that produces fleeting moments of weightlessness, he even shot scenes. That meticulousness paid off. On a $52 million budget, the film earned over $355 million worldwide and was nominated for 9 Academy Awards. Surprisingly, Howard was not included in the Best Director category, but it did win for Best Sound and Best Film Editing. Apollo 13 eventually became a classic. Pop culture now includes the well-known phrase, "Houston, we have a problem." The movie, which was acknowledged for its cultural and historical significance, was added to the National Film Registry in 2023. A few years later, Howard, who had a lovely mind, took on another true story. The movie, which came out on December 21, 2001, chronicled the life of John Nash, a math whiz who fought schizophrenia. In his portrayal of Nash, Russell Crowe vividly captured his genius, paranoia, and eventual success. In order to put the audience inside Nash's head, Howard employed inventive storytelling techniques, revealing important details only after the character himself acknowledged them. The relationship between Nash and his wife, Alicia, played by Jennifer Connelly, provided the film's emotional weight. The movie won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director for Howard, and she received an Oscar for her performance. On a budget of $58 million, it made over $313 million worldwide. In addition to being a box office hit, the film altered public perceptions of mental illness. It honored Nash's accomplishments and tenacity while educating viewers about the difficulties associated with schizophrenia. Not all of Howard's work was serious drama. He ventured into the realm of fantasy in 2000 with the publication of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It was difficult to turn Dr. Seuss's beloved book into a live-action movie, but Jim Carrey's portrayal of the Grinch made the movie a holiday success. Hours of makeup were required each day to transform Carrey into the green, Christmas-hating character. He once compared the process to being buried alive. Howard attempted to lighten the mood by dressing up as the Grinch himself on set because the production was so demanding. Released on November 17, 2000, the film made $345 million worldwide on a budget of $123 million, making it the highest-grossing holiday film of its time. It was nominated for both production design and costume design and took home an Academy Award for Best Makeup. Audiences welcomed its darker humor, despite some critics finding it out of the ordinary for a children's movie. It eventually became a Christmas classic, and Carrey's portrayal is still regarded as one of his most memorable parts. The Da Vinci Code, which Howard directed in 2006, was adapted from Dan Brown's best-selling book. Tom Hanks played symbologist Robert Langdon in the movie, who solves a mystery connected to the Holy Grail and a covert religious group. The film sparked controversy right away. The Vatican denounced it. Debates raged over how it portrayed Christianity, and religious organizations demanded boycotts. However, ticket sales were unaffected by the controversy. The Da Vinci Code, which made $760 million worldwide on a $125 million budget, was Howard's highest-grossing film when it debuted at Cannes on May 17, 2006. Inferno, 2016, and Angels and Demons, 2009, were his two follow-up films. Audiences enjoyed the film's blend of mystery, history, and action, despite critics' disagreements about its historical accuracy. There were some lighter moments in the production behind the scenes. Howard still finds humor in the story about Tom Hanks changing his pants in front of the Mona Lisa while filming at the Louvre. Although Ron Howard has produced some amazing movies, not all of his work is a hit. Solo, a Star Wars story in 2018, and Inferno in 2016 were two of his worst box office failures. Their budgets were large. High standards and solid ties to profitable franchises. They still had trouble drawing crowds. Tom Hanks starred in the third installment of the Robert Langdon film series, Inferno. The Da Vinci Code, the first film, made $760 million worldwide in 2006 and was a huge hit. 2009 saw the release of Angels and Demons, which brought in $485 million. The audience had lost interest by the time Inferno arrived. Against a budget of $75 million, it only made $220 million. The film was criticized by critics for its unremarkable performances and convoluted plot. Many viewers had simply lost interest in the series, and marketing had failed to generate excitement. I felt that Inferno was an afterthought in comparison to the previous films. The Star Wars tale Solo followed. A movie that had issues behind the scenes long before it was released. The original directors, Christopher Miller and Phil Lord, were fired midway through the filming process. Howard was brought in to take over, and he worked under pressure to reshoot a lot of the movie. Although the finished product was largely well received, no audiences showed up. Globally, it made $393 million, becoming the first Star Wars film to experience a loss. Its chances were harmed by several factors. Franchise fatigue resulted from the release of The Last Jedi only 5 months prior. Recent Star Wars movies had elicited conflicting reactions from fans, with many wondering if Alden Ehrenreich could match Harrison Ford's portrayal of Han Solo. Despite having strong action and storytelling, the movie had trouble capturing viewers' attention. Howard handled these setbacks professionally in spite of them. He avoided assigning blame and took pride in his work. There is more to Ron Howard's life than just his success in Hollywood. It is a tale of devotion, love, and family values that has endured for many years. He first met Cheryl Alley, the woman who would be his lifelong partner, in Burbank, California. On November 1, 1970, they became high school sweethearts at John Burroughs High School. They went out for pizza after watching a re-release of It's a Mad, Mad World. Despite being a straightforward evening, it was the start of something enduring. Cheryl was the one, Ron was sure. He asked her to marry him 3 times before she accepted. Prioritizing her studies, she obtained a BA in psychology and then an MFA in screenwriting. On June 7, 1975, they were married when she was ready. Andy Griffith and Tom Bosley were among the close friends and family who attended their modest but significant wedding. Cheryl became his partner in everything after that, not just his wife. It became customary for Ron to have Cheryl appear in each of his movies. He thought she was lucky for him, even if it was only a brief appearance. But Cheryl was more than just a helpful spouse. She published the book In the Face of Gin and established her own writing career. She supported Ron through all of his triumphs and setbacks. Ron was straightforward in his response to a question about the key to their enduring marriage. He supported candid dialogue and respect for one another. He believed that there was only a willingness to develop together over time and no secret formula. When they had children, their life together grew. Their youngest child, Reed Cross Howard, was born in 1987, the twins, Paige and Jocelyn Carlisle Howard, were born in 1985, and Bryce Dallas Howard was born in 1981. Every child followed a different route. With roles in The Help and Jurassic World, Bryce rose to prominence. Jocelyn chose a quiet life away from Hollywood, while Paige pursued acting and writing. Reed pursued an entirely different passion, turning into a social media star and professional golfer. Despite the Hollywood attention, Ron and Cheryl wanted to provide their kids with a typical life. They concentrated on providing them with a stable upbringing and discouraged them from acting when they were young. They frequently accompanied the children to filming locations, homeschooling them as needed. They relocated the whole family to London when Cheryl became pregnant with Reed so that Ron could be present for both the filming and the birth of their son. Family should always come first, in their opinion. Their humor and inventiveness were even reflected in the names they gave their kids. The place of conception is symbolized by each middle name. The Texas city inspired the name of Bryce Dallas. The Manhattan Carlisle Hotel served as the inspiration for the names of Jocelyn and Paige Carlisle. A street close to their house at the time gave rise to Reed Cross's name. It was never easy to juggle work and family obligations, but Ron and Cheryl managed. Ron attributes their family's stability to Cheryl's ability to manage the details. Alan Alda, an actor and director, advised him early in his career to approach family with the same care that he put into writing a screenplay. Ron acted on that advice. He remained present as a father even when he founded Imagine Entertainment, ensuring that his kids never felt cut off from him. They never thought work and home life should be kept apart. Rather, whenever possible, they combined the two. Although it wasn't always easy, it was effective for them. Their relationship remained strong because of simple routines like going on bike rides or coffee dates. Later, their kids talked about how, in spite of their father's demanding job, this strategy provided them with stability. Beyond his family, Ron left a remarkable filmmaking legacy. Together with producer Brian Grazer, he co-founded Imagine Entertainment in November 1985. Producing more than 50 films and a number of popular television shows, such as Friday Night Lights, Empire, and Arrested Development, the company rose to prominence in Hollywood. Additionally, Imagine Entertainment entered the streaming market by creating content for Apple TV+, Disney+, and Netflix. Following a buyout in 1992, the business went back to private ownership after going public for the first time in 1986. Its films have made billions of dollars worldwide over the years. One of its greatest hits, A Beautiful Mind, took home 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture in 2002. Other notable motion pictures include Frost-Nixon, 2008, The Da Vinci Code, 2006, and Apollo 13, 1995. These movies all demonstrated Ron's versatility in handling various genres. His influence on television was equally noteworthy. Ron was not only a film director but also a master storyteller across various platforms, as evidenced by Imagine Entertainment's critically acclaimed and award-winning projects. Ron received some of the most prominent honors in entertainment during his career. He was nominated for Frost-Nixon and Apollo 13, and he won 2 Academy Awards for A Beautiful Mind. 6 Emmys, 2 Golden Globes, and a Grammy for The Beatles' 8 Days a Week are among his other accomplishments. Together, his films have brought in over $2 billion worldwide. Ron's contributions have earned him 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, 1 for film in 2015 and 1 for television in 1981. Imagine Entertainment, his production company, has contributed to projects that have been nominated for 217 Emmys and 47 Academy Awards. His reputation as one of Hollywood's most esteemed directors was cemented in 2003 when he was also granted the National Medal of Arts.